Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another guide. Today we're going to talk about the newest, most coolest Bebop build, which is Hybrid Bebop. Because of the change recently where you only get bomb stacks on kills, we have now developed a build where you start off with gun damage and then you transition into more spirit items as your bomb stacks increase. I've been trying to play a lot of double bomb Bebop after the patch, and it's been surprisingly hard simply because people now are aware of the fact that you don't get stacks unless you kill someone. So people tend to play pretty passive against you, which is why I came up with this idea of making a very aggressive build where the goal is to take fights with Shadow Weave and get kills, build up bomb stacks, and then eventually get spirit items once your bomb does more damage. Because the recent patch also increased the spirit scaling of the bomb, it also means that the more stacks you have, the better spirit items will get. So the laning stage is as normal with Bebop, except we now level up the hook first instead of leveling up the bomb. Simply because originally, you would level up the bomb first to try to get kills pretty easily. But since that's not really as important, you don't have to play that aggressive. You're more focused on getting your last hits, getting your denies, and playing a little bit more passive than you normally would. You still want to look for good kill opportunities because obviously if you get a kill, you get 5% bomb damage. But yeah. So the laning stage is definitely easier with this build compared to how double bomb Bebop usually was played before, because you were kind of forced to just play hyper aggressive to get your stacks. Now you kind of don't have to, because you can kind of just play it out naturally, and if you end up getting a lot of stacks in the laning stage, that's good, but you can always get them later once you get your Shadow Wave and you start ganking. So yeah, not too much happening here, pretty standard stuff. You start with extra regen. This build will also be available in-game. It's called Stealth Hybrid. And there will also be eventually a link to it on mobalytics.gg. So yeah, right now we're laning against a Warden and a Great Talon. So it's pretty difficult because they have a lot of poke with Great Talon's arrows. And he also got buffed a lot recently. Plus Warden's alchemical flask. So our goal right now is just kind of to stay even on souls without dying. And you can see we are pretty even here, 1.5k versus 1.5k. So yeah, not too much exciting stuff happening. Yeah, so now we have rank 2 hook. So now our kill potential is much bigger. And we're going for a hook here, getting a hook on this guy. He instantly gets slammed by Abrams. Pretty good combo, and now we got 5 bomb stacks. Of course, nothing crazy yet, and we don't even have a skill up on bomb yet for the plus 80 damage, so it's kind of just there for later when we start focusing on the bomb a little bit more. All right, so we're gonna skip forward a little bit. So we just hit 3k, so now we buy Tesla bullets, and this is where we're gonna try to basically balance our farming between multiple things. But the thing is important is that at 8 minutes, the slot machine spawn and the tier 3 camp spawn. You generally want to do the tier 3 camps with your ultimate, pretty much. That's pretty much what you use your ult for in this build. And then you want to farm camps while the waves are shoved out. If a wave is shoved into your tower, you should not be jungling because you need to defend your towers. They're very important objectives. So essentially what you want to try to do is kind of ping pong between the camps that are near the lane. As well as break boxes, because boxes have a lot of stats. Don't forget to break boxes and statues. It's very important. So you're basically, until you have Shadow Weave, you're not like playing overly aggressive because it's kind of hard to get in range to get easy picks. So you still just run around, break some boxes, maybe even take these loser camps here. These camps are like the lowest priority camps to kill. But in some scenarios like now, for instance, you see that there's no urn right now, there's no mid-boss contesting, there's no walker being pushed. That's when it's good to take out these camps. If I'm gonna backseat myself here, one thing I will say is that in this situation here, I could have taken this teleporter over to this side because there are 3 camps here that have not been cleared. But it seems like we're going for a fight now, which is also perfectly fine. Let me see if I can... Oh, there we go. Okay, we're going for a hook. Oh, boom. Plus pop. Ouchie. Okay, you gotta get out. All right, there we go. One thing you have to remember, by the way, is that when you buy Tesla bullets, I know a lot of you are going to ask, why didn't you buy burst fire? And the simple answer is because we are going for shadow weave, we need a lot of farm to get the big item. The difficult part about this is to know when to participate in team fights, because you're going to have a constant unsecured souls. So for those who don't know, whenever you jungle, a percentage of the souls you collect are going to be unsecured. And that is a problem. So be a little bit extra careful, because you're saving up until you have 6,200 souls. So have that in mind, that if you have tons of unsecured souls, maybe wait until they go down a bit, because you, as you can see in the bottom left there, they do slowly go down, even if you don't do anything. So if you're shoving out a lane, for instance, you don't get any unsecured souls. It's only from jungles. So in general, I try to avoid like scary fights if that happens. But yeah, now you can see we have like 1200 unsecured souls. So not really interested in a fight, but now we finally hit our timing, which is Shadow Weave. There we go. Now we got Shadow Weave. This is our first power spike. I also want to quickly mention that the synergy here is that recently Tesla bolts got buffed quite a bit. It's now affected by cooldown reduction, so from like Enchanter's Barrier, improved cooldown, even Leech now that they added cooldown on Leech. Plus, it also needs fire rate. So when you have fire rate from rapid rounds, and then Shadow Weave has a perfect synergy with Tesla bullets because it increases your spirit power and your fire rate. So you'll notice I can show you some stats at the end of the game as well, how much damage Tesla bullets actually does to heroes. And that's why hybrid builds are pretty good, because there are a lot of situations where people will buy metal skin or other defensive items against one damage type. And if you're doing 50-50 damage between each damage type, it's going to be a lot harder to counter you. So anyway, now we have Shadow Weave, and we're going to start looking for kills. Not only just to like get souls and stuff, but also to start building up our bomb stacks. Now we're getting more aggressive. We're looking for a kill here. Can we get a little pick here maybe? Oh, maybe we can get a little plus bomb. Oh, great talent maybe. Oh, still looking. Oh, oh, goodbye. There we go, plus bomb. When you play with Shadow Weave, it's pretty important to think about what your cooldowns are. And it's very important to also hit your hook because your entire combo kind of relies around getting in there and hooking them and blasting them in 3 seconds and then running away. Which is also why this build is pretty good to play with knockdown, because when you're very close to them, it's actually surprisingly easy to miss still. Okay, here we have another fight. We have a Fitzy once again just doing his thing, destroying walkers. He's going for the TP. Oh, but oh, that's funny. So now this stage isn't too complicated. Basically, we are looking for a potential urn here. We have to remember that if the souls advantage is more than 10% between the two teams, the urn is going to a different location now compared to before. It's a combat mechanic. Oh, and now I'm getting attacked by this warden, and I'm trying my best to juke him. I'm just dancing around this. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, so when people are pushing you like that, by the way, like uppercut and bomb is so strong to juke people. Just wait for your teammates to arrive and just run around and hide behind walls. And then whenever they get close to the wall, because you can third person peek them, you can uppercut them away, put a bomb on them. Because now that the bomb damage is as long as you kill them within 12 seconds of having taken damage from a bomb or having the bomb on them, you get a stack. So now we have gotten some more items. This wasn't the final iteration of the build. I actually went for Swift Striker instead of Soul Shredder in the most recent iteration, as well as switching this one to Combat Barrier, just to have a little bit more gun pressure early. The interesting thing also about this build is that depending on how many bomb stacks you get during the game, you can decide when you want to build your spirit items, because obviously if you end up getting a lot of stacks, then it could be worth to push some of your spirit items up earlier so that the bomb is like a bigger percentage of your damage. You can also see right now that pretty much all the walkers are gone. We have one walker left. This walker is very important because that's going to be a flex slot for the enemy. So you want to defend that one with your dear life. Shadow Weave, by the way, lasts for a really long time, and the cooldown starts ticking as soon as you use it. So sometimes if you know you're going into a fight, it's actually worth using it pretty much before you start ziplining or pretty early, because it's already starting to recharge. So it comes back earlier. Okay, here we go. We're looking for another hook. You'll also notice that we got knockdown as well now. This is just to guarantee the hook to actually hit. And I'm kind of just roaming around, looking for opportunities. Where is the Infernus? Ah, there he is. We got the knockdown on him. Oh, we got one. There we go. Nice little pick. So let's look at this guy, for instance. You'll notice how he's got very little resistance to both. He's got 0 spirit and 13 bullet resist, but he's got a spirit shield ability. So if you think when we played the old double bomb Bebop, then we wouldn't be doing a lot of damage to this guy, for instance, because he has a big spirit shield that he can pop. When this one is maxed out, his spirit shield can be over 1,000 spirit damage blocked. So because we are currently playing a build where the goal is to almost do 50-50 gun and bomb damage, we suddenly have a big advantage against heroes that have these kind of things where they can block one damage type. In this case, for instance, if we played bomb or ult, he would block most of the damage, but because we're playing a combination, we're not. And then there are examples the other way around, where, for instance, this guy, he's got 54% bullet resistance, but only 28% spirit. So now this favors us compared to playing a pure gun build because we're doing damage with both types. So this makes it much harder to counterplay with. Metal Skin doesn't fully counter the damage. It reduces it a lot, of course. And in my opinion, also becomes a lot more fun to play. One thing to notice is that when you're like 25 minutes into the game and you're pretty even on souls, a lot of it is about when the mid boss is up and how each team are able to get the mid boss, because you have some team comps, for instance, that it's really hard to take mid boss against them. For instance, when they have Haze ult and they have this bird, like this entire team, they all have AoE ultimates that can fight in the mid boss pit, meaning that you almost never want to go for a risky mid boss against this team. They all have some sort of like big AoE spell that can mess up the mid boss really badly. But anyway, that's why like when you get to this point in the game, you're usually either waiting for the urn and just shoving out lanes, taking out walkers. And most of the time you'll see that most of the map is going to be farmed at all times. Like there's going to be very little jungle camps available unless there's like a big like ARAM brawl going on. All right, there's another bomb stack. So by the way, another advantage of playing hybrid is that if you ever get low, you can go to the back line and use your ults. Your ult will still do a decent amount of damage. Oh, nice. 20% fire rate. You can still do a decent amount of damage with your ult because you have quite a lot of spirit for a gun build, if you want to call it that. And if you have your ult maxed, you also have 100% lifesteal. Here we go. Here's another... Dude, I played quite a few games against Fitzy, and his Calvin is so annoying to play against. He just constantly does this backdooring thing, and then he uses the big buildings to just get out, and it's just so hard to deal with. And this was like a very good play from him because we got 2 picks, but we decided to go back to deal with Kelvin, and then he gets away, and then we didn't really get much out of it. Anyway, also, by the way, dude, I hate the Paradox and Bebop interaction when you hook and swap them at the same time. It gets really yanky janky. Sorry, I'm Norwegian. Because the swap kind of cancels out your hook, and you don't get to do the bomb, you don't get to do the uppercut, and just feels super awkward. I just wanted to show you like the idea behind, like I mentioned earlier, going Shadow Weave. I know a lot of people play Valorant and stuff. I'm just a Shadow Weave enjoyer. It's not for everybody. It's a super expensive item to farm and stuff. But the whole idea is just to give you more opportunities to get that assassination kill and get that sticky bomb stack. And sometimes if your team is playing pretty passively, it's pretty hard to get that unless you have an item where you can literally get into their jungle. And that's also why you get the silence glyph, by the way, is to make sure that they don't really have any counterplay as long as you hit the hook uppercut. And you can also run close to them and hit the uppercut first. It's just that the hook also gives you 30% more damage to hooked enemies for 10 seconds. So ideally you want to start with the hook. So now we're at what we call the late game. You see still here 30 minutes into the game. The soul count is very even. All the walkers are gone. Every flex slot is available except the last one for the shrines. And we've now picked up a leech as well. Now leech recently got changed where they added cooldown reduction instead of spirit power, which is great for this build because it was already a good item for Tesla bullets because it gives lifesteal to both the spirit and the bullet damage. So naturally this is like a perfect item for a hybrid build. And same with Surge of Power. It gives more damage to the bomb, also more fire rate and movement speed, and they recently changed it to also give you the fleet foot effect while shooting. So these are all like very natural items to just add on to the build. It still feels like you're playing a gun build, but you have a surprising amount of spirit damage. Okay, so I am respawning here and 4 of my teammates are dead. Now it's a 2v2 inside the pit. You see here, the patron is 50% health. We blow up Warden. And at this point, our entire base has been pushed in. I kind of want to see how this happened, actually. Let me just double check this. So we have a... Yeah, so they have a mid-boss. See, they have the mid-boss buff, so now they have more health. And the waves do a lot more damage. And we got caught in a Kelvin ult. And this is a bad situation to be in for a Bebop. You want to be in the back. You want to pick one target off. You want to hit a hook or something. Oh yeah. Oh, I remember this. I tried to hook a warden and I hit an invisible haste that just AoE, just bullet danced me. Even though they're about to take out our patron here, you can see the rest of the team is fighting for their dear life. And this is something that is like very interesting, how easy it is to overextend. Like in most situations you'd think, okay, this game is over. It's a 6 versus 4. They're in the pit. They're about to rush down the patron. But then first Kelvin dies because McGinnis does a lot of damage. Then one more person dies. And then suddenly Wraith comes back with ult. And then this guy dies. So you guys see, this is called chain feeding. So the right play here from the enemy team is to not be greedy. It's a 6v4, but it's in your base. Maybe they could have finished it if they played better, sure. But like when one person gets picked off like that, it's a pretty good idea to just get out of there. And you can also see they don't have Haze ult anymore. They don't have Warden ult anymore. So this is probably just them being like, oh, guys, we can just finish it. It's fine. Like they have 4 dead or whatever. But when you have heroes like Warden who can do a lift and insta-kill and stuff, suddenly the game flips around really fast. So yeah. And then I come back to life here. Just like Wraith, I can also delete someone really fast. See, Wraith is playing the Shadow Weave curse build as well. So we have 2 Shadow Weave assassination heroes here. So look at this guy, he's full health. It's not full health anymore. And if you look at the top now, the soul count is only 10k difference. And 32 minutes in, that is absolutely nothing. And another thing to remember is that the enemy team, look at this map. Look at how much stuff there is to farm, right? And of course you can say they had the mid-boss buff, so they were respawned fast anyway. But one thing people forget is that you still give away souls to the enemies when you get killed. So sometimes you take these fights and you go, oh, we can just fight because we had the mid-boss buff, we'll come back fast, right? But it gives thousands of souls to the enemy team if you just like throw at them. The only good argument for doing a fight while you have the mid boss buff like that is if, let's say, you get 2 kills and then you get those 2 kills traded. Now it's a 4v4, and then those 4 people back out. Now what's going to happen next is that your teammates that are going to spawn back before the enemy teammates, because you have the rejuve buff, because it's halves the respawn timer. That's okay. If that's your plan, that makes sense, because it's about like making it an advantageous fight in the fight after. But in a lot of cases that doesn't happen, and you just end up like losing your entire souls advantage, and suddenly it's only 10k difference. And here you see, this is a very important fight. And dude, there's another one. There is that same interaction again. The freaking hook into swap interaction is so awkward. So this is a pretty big important fight. Let me see what happens here. It's important to try to stay together in these, and I'm trying to like see if anyone is low in the back line, trying to pick one target out. A lot of people are low and stuff. Get a knockdown on this guy. Silence him. See, the bomb is already doing quite a lot of damage, like even though it's technically, you know, not a pure bomb build. Getting chased by... And there it is again! Dude, I actually don't like that. Like, it happens so often because both the hook and the swap is on low cooldown. But like... it's so frustrating when that happens. But anyway, he dies anyway, but yeah. And then my teammate is in a Kelvin dome, so I'm running. Also like, interesting about this fight is that almost everybody died. It's currently a 1v2 and everyone else is dead. And I'm obviously gonna die too. But now the lanes are pushed out enough till they can't finish it. And our Abrams is already back, Wraith is already back. So once again, because the game has a comeback mechanic where you get more souls rewarded for killing people that are worth more souls than you, it also means that it's advantageous for you to like, that was a good fight for us. So now we have added some important elements, and late game, there's a lot of damage. So the natural thing to do, especially when you have Leech, is to add improved bullet and spirit armor. Leech is like, when you have a lot of lifesteal, then having bullet and spirit resist just increases the potency of Leech, because it's about out-sustaining the damage you receive. So basically, you don't really want to have tons of barriers with Leech, for instance, because you can't really heal off of that, but having damage reduction makes a lot more sense. And then the kind of final item that makes a lot of sense in this build is Crippling Headshot, because it's an item that reduces both their bullet and their spirit resist. So once again, you're furtherly going into that hybrid damage territory. And you won't believe me when you see, by the way, at the end, the damage breakdown. It's pretty fucking interesting. Anyway, we're starting to get close to the game. And now you can see that we actually have the souls lead. So this game looked completely over about 15 minutes ago. We're not only still in the game, but we're actually now in the lead. Okay, so we're now 4 versus 2. And we're starting to regain momentum here. So another thing to think about is how the team comps are, right? So for instance, technically, this team has better late game scalers. They have an Infernus that is a hyper carry, a Haze that is a hyper carry, but they have very little frontlining. They don't have tons of frontlining. The issue with that is when you're playing against, for instance, Viscus, McGinnis, and Abrams, there's tons of crowd control. Like, I think I would favor this comp quite heavily if I ever saw these two comps against each other. You have 2 pick potentials, you have stun, wall, more stun. So it just becomes like, I think the more team fights happen when like they start to reach their like full potential, I think this team is like more likely to win. Yes, these two are like bigger carries, but there's also tons of stuff to shut them down on this team, if that makes sense. So anyway, now we're getting in that, if you like, our base is completely gone. Like we have no base defense left, meaning if we lose one team fight, we're dead. And that's why you can see that we're starting to pick up soul rebirth. See, there's a yellow marker under our teammates' names up here. Because at this stage of the game with such a long respawn timer and no base defense left, if you lose one more fight, you're dead. So right now we're just looking for a pick. One pick is super important now. We miss a hook there, but Wraith is going super ham. Then we have the Kelvin ults. We're basically just looking for a pick now. This Kelvin pick is pretty big, and this is why, like... Okay. What? Dude, for the love of God, bro. Yeah, so now that we have a pick on Kelvin and a lot of ults are on cooldown, they also killed our Viscous, so now it's a 5v5. By the way, re-engaging with Bebop is really good. Oh, I found a target here. Can we blow him up? Yes, we can. So the reason why re-engaging from a fight is good with Bebop is that we do not rely on our ultimate at all. Also, by the way, look at this. Look at that. I want you guys to take a look at that right there. That is a Haze ultimate. Okay, here we go. We're now tanking Haze ult. We're getting within the circle. And we have Leech on. We're just tanking the Haze ult with Leech. All good. Don't worry about it. And then we have Infernus here as well. I'm actually not sure why I ulted there. Can't lie. Oh yeah, and by the way, guys, do you see the bomb damage here? Look at the damage counter on look at that. Okay. Look at the see that? Yup. Nice little surprise there, huh? Oh yeah, he's playing gun bop, and then the bomb hits for 1,000. Now this is the very important mid boss. So the more, the later in the game you get, I think it's a third mid boss where the maximum amount of buffs are rewarded. The enemy team cannot contest this mid boss at all because they have 3 people dead. And they're forced into this. In this situation, the enemy team, the only thing they can do is defend. And the reason for that is that if one of them gets picked off or even gets traded, they will have such a long respawn timer compared to us, which is also why it's always worth it for us to play aggressive now. We have like 40k souls lead. We're just looking for a pick and then see. And this is like what I said earlier. When you have both a Bebop and a Paradox on your team, you can, like, late game, getting one of those picks can win you the game. So because he swapped out the Warden there, killed him. And suddenly they kind of just trickle down. But they still have Kelvin ult, they still have Lash ult, they still have Infernus ult, they still have Haze ult. This, like, is not over by any means, even though... So getting another pick is ideal. So we go for the knockdown on Kelvin. And there you can see why knockdown is so good. And this... Dude... Killing this Kelvin is like an aim labs task. But especially when you're fighting in the base... Oh god. And there's that interaction again. Especially when you're in the enemy base, knockdown is so good because it's so much easier to hit those long range hooks. There we go, finally.
What's the matter, Organics? Got out without Bebop.
And there we go. So, Before we finish this video, I also want to show you guys the damage breakdown because I find it really interesting. And that was one thing that surprised me with this build in general. First of all, you see that we got 21 kills, almost the most souls with 57k souls and 19 assists, right? You can see the full build here. I have switched out Soul Shredder with Swift Striker now in my newest version of the build. And look at this, guys. Let me see. Damage dealt by type. Look at that. 16k gun damage, 14k sticky bomb, 6,300 Tesla bullets. So the damage was actually completely split down the middle in gun and spirit damage. We did around 20k gun damage, including crits, and around 20k spirit damage with sticky bomb plus Tesla bullets. And you can see here how Tesla bullets keep scaling throughout the game because it does more damage with spirit power and it does more procs with cooldown reduction. A super fun build to play. A little bit different video this time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Oh, please don't look at my... That wasn't intentional. Oh yeah, by the way, this game was... The average rank in this lobby was around Ascendant 4, I believe. So it's a pretty high ranked lobby as well. Pretty sweaty game. The comms were really good. You can't hear the comms when you're spectating, but yeah. I hope you guys learned some of this, and also feel free to leave a comment down below if you try the build out for yourself. This is the build I will be playing in ranked probably now for a while. I think some sort of like gun or hybrid build is probably the most ideal way to play Bebop right now. I do think the double bomb is definitely becoming pretty difficult to play in the high ranks, especially because people don't really just give you kills. And the ult build also feels a little bit weaker. So yeah, try it out for yourself and let me know what you think. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.